Joe, a team that's coming into the season with a lot of hype is James Franklin's Nittany Lions. When you look at the Penn State Nittany Lions, why do you believe that they're going to win the Big Ten?
The hype is completely justified because they did exactly what Ohio State and what Michigan did in order to go on national championship runs last year and the year before. I'm not going to go all the way there. I do not have Penn State winning a national title this season, but they're at least geared up and ready to finally win the Big Ten in a season where Oregon's resetting quite a bit. Ohio State is resetting a lot, which we'll get to in a second. They have arguably the best offensive line and defensive line in the conference. They have the best running back room in the conference. They have the best defensive backfield in the conference, and quite possibly one of the best, at the very least, one of the best linebacker rooms. There is talent, developed talent, all over this roster. The biggest questions come down to James Franklin getting this team ready to go for their biggest games and for the Big Ten championship game. And for Drew Allar to step up to the plate and make the big throws that he needs to, unlike what he did against Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl and some of the mistakes that we saw from him in the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, all of those things.
You mean Oregon?
No, when they played, I'm talking about when they played.
They played in the Big Ten championship. It was Oregon.
No, but I was talking, never.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You got me all twisted up in a pretzel the way you coming up. When they played Ohio State in the regular season and in the Big Ten championship.
I got what you're saying. Not bad.
Those two ifs are big, Blake, but the talent on this roster is so gifted that it gives them the best opportunity to win it. So I'm not going to bet against that.
You left out one thing that I think is very critical. They might have one of the better wide receiver rooms in the Big Ten, if not the country. I mean, listen, I am pretty bullish on Hudson, Ross, and Trevor Pena. I think people need to understand how good Trevor Pena is. I mean, the ACC was a lot of things last year. Sucking at wide receiver was not one of them, and he was one of the best. Joe, for me, I am giving, for what it's worth, right, wrong, or indifferent, I am literally giving Drew Allar the benefit of the doubt in reference to some of the weapons that he had on the outside a season ago. I don't think that, look, the last game we saw, Penn State play against Notre Dame, a receiver didn't have a catch. Let's see if that changes. I think it's going to change. And by the way, if it doesn't change, this is going to be on Drew Allar and Penn State because these guys were highly productive at other places. Very, very highly productive. So can someone in that wide receiver room be really good? But, Joe, the problem that I think that sets up for them offensively with second-year OC Andy Kotelnicki is your running game along with that offensive line, which, by the way, returns 4 seniors along that offensive line. What are you going to try to take away? Are you going to have to take away that receiver core that's really talented or arguably one of, if not the best running back duo in the country, which a lot of people believe? Joe, the reason that people do not want to buy into Penn State is not really Allar. It's not really the receivers or running backs or defense, or whatever it may be. A lot of people are really standoffish because of James Franklin. And I think that that's the part where people are hesitant. And I understand as to why. Joe, I love some of the things that they have returning defensively. You bring in Jim Knowles, who just came off a national title at Ohio State. I love their safety room. I love Wheatley. I love a lot of the things that they have. I love that King Mack is coming in. I love Dennis Sutton. The things that they've done, Joe, they got talent everywhere. The question becomes, now that you've accumulated all this talent, can you take that next step? And in reference to Drew Allar, we're just at a place in time where now you have to deliver. There are no more excuses. I do think it's very interesting to see what it's going to look like in a second year with the same OC with him. Joe, let's call it what it was. How many OCs did he have before Andy Kotelnicki? 3. He had 3. This is the first time that he's had a coordinator for a second year ever, literally. So you're getting to a place where now that you have the same voice and going through the same stuff and same system, can he take that next step will be a big question.
The next step is where the uncertainty obviously lies. I do really wonder, like, does that end up catching up to them? Does that end up being what holds them back?
Oh, it certainly
I know that we've got people in the chat. We got Alex in the chat saying, are we really going to trust James Franklin to get it done in these big games? The counter I would provide to this, how long did we spend talking about that with Ryan Day? I am not trying to say that Ryan Day and James Franklin are on the same exact level. I think that Ryan Day is a better coach than James Franklin, and he's proven it. But there was a really good stretch until he won that national title last year. We had these conversations nationally, not just the two of us, when they lost to Michigan. A lot of people were wondering, can Ryan Day win the big games?
They're called for him to be fired.
So, I mean, what is my point, though, is it takes long time for some coaches to break through. It does. It's not just an instant thing. Not every coach is Kirby Smart, and Kirby Smart even took a long time. Nick Saban took a little bit of time before he broke through and started winning his big games against better coaches. It's just the how difficult it is to succeed in college football.
Here's what I think. Oregon came in and won the Big Ten in year one, right? And they had a quarterback that was highly experienced, okay? Mm-hmm. You bring in Dylan Gabriel, and if you're Ohio State, who did you bring in? Well, it was simple. You brought in Walker Howard. Joe, I don't know. Here's what I feel like the Big Ten fan base is doing. James Franklin can't win the big one. Well, he's won the Big Ten before. Okay, so don't say that he can't win the big one when he's literally won your conference before, because that has happened. Okay,
right.
There comes a point in time where we both think that Dante Moore and Julian Sain are very talented. We've barely seen them throw a pass at their selective schools. Barely. Joe, have you seen Julian Sain drop back 30 times in a game and throw passes under pressure? Because I haven't. All this talk is just talk. When we're talking about projections, we've seen Drew Allar be in those fires. Again, I am just in the boat for him specifically. I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes down to you went out and got 3 receivers. Why? You pay Trevor Pena. I'll throw this out there. Joe, when Trevor Pena went into the portal, I know of a team that's very close to me that was going after it. I know about what the money was, and Penn State said, no. We're going to get it. And so, I mean, they did what they needed to do. If Drew Allar does and is not successful with this core, then fine. It is what it is. But they return those offensive linemen. They return that running game. And to Elks, they're on the 1-yard line against Ohio State to win the game last year. They are. I mean, it's not like there was a massive separation a season ago. I mean, Joe, am I wrong? Was there some massive separation from Ohio State and Penn State a year ago? Or am I going nuts?
No, there wasn't. But I think that where the commentary comes from is the fact that they did get that far down the field and they couldn't accomplish it. They couldn't score. They couldn't finish the damn thing off.
Very fair. I'm with you. They did. That whole unit returns. I look at these other teams, and we'll get into them. Joe, do you have any idea what Notre Dame, Ohio State's going to be defensively under Matt Patricia? The last time we saw Dante Moore, brother, he got benched. I mean, I think the kid's going to be highly talented. I don't mean it like that. But again, you want me to come in here and hedge a bet on a team that I just think is extremely talented, which I think that Penn State is. Drew Allar could definitely not progress, and we're sitting back in the same spot that we were a season ago.
I hope that progression does come because he is incredibly gifted. I think that if we just see just a slight step forward, and we talked about this last week because James Franklin kind of chimed in on it, how he went from this super raw kid who was still learning how to throw a football. He wasn't originally like a natural quarterback recruit like we get with these other kids where they're out the womb doing 7-on-7. he was somebody who had to learn to figure out how to use his big frame. And we've seen a year-by-year progression and improvement of him reeling all that in, where he's got all this power and all this juice, but sometimes his balls are errant. They're not as on point and as accurate as they need to be. And he makes some questionable decisions at times. I would think that a second year with Andy Kotelnicki, of them getting to know each other better and still having Singleton and Katron Allen to lean on in the run game, that there will be an improvement. I think one layer that does need to be added to this that is important for the discussion, because scheduling is incredibly important for talking about all these things.
Yes.
Penn State heavily benefits from hosting Oregon at home. That is both of those teams' hardest matchups, is that game, some of their hardest matchups. So Oregon has to go across the country with a time zone difference. I don't know when kickoff is projected to be. I don't even know if there is a projected kickoff at the current moment. I think it's supposed to be a night game, but you're still traveling across the country. Penn State getting to host that is where that slight edge comes into play. And if they're both 11-1, Penn State has the nod over them for winning the regular season.
Can they get a pass rush? Can Dennis Sutton be the guy that we think he is? I do think that they have one of the best safety rooms in the country. I've told you this. I love Zakee Wheatley. Zakee Wheatley, he will come down and blow your head off. Pause. But, I mean, he will. Again, we're talking about a team, Joe, that last year went 11-2 or 13-2, whatever it was. They're on the cusp. Can they overcome? Will be the ultimate question. There's too many unknowns for these other teams where I think Penn State's just talented enough where they can ultimately take it. Elks does say with a $2 super chat, Knowles' defense takes more than 1 year to install. Well, it took more than 1 year at Ohio State. It doesn't mean that it takes more than 1 year at Penn State. Just because Michigan came into the horseshoe and ran it down your throat doesn't mean that's going to happen to Penn State. Sorry. I mean, it doesn't.
I agree with you on that. I think
there's nothing to do with install when a team lined up and ran dive and ran right at you and busted your ass. It's a physicality problem.
Well, right. Yeah, there's nothing to install when you're getting ran over. But like the other part with that is the evidence that we're pointing to is it took Ohio State a year to learn and properly implement his defense. That to me is not enough evidence to prove that. We don't know how things look differently at Penn State. This Penn State defense is very gifted.
Hold on, pause. Yes, you do. This is their third straight defensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good freaking point. They've actually been very adaptable, extremely adaptable.
Extremely adaptable. They literally had Manny Diaz. They had Allen a season ago who went on.
Yeah.
They haven't been outside the top 7 in total defense.
I mean, that's the evidence. That's the evidence in favor. There's more evidence in favor than there is against.
100%. And by the way, they were the number 1 total defense in the country 2 years ago under Manny Diaz. I mean, what are we talking about? All right.